Viksit Bharat 2047 is usually imagined through more factories, better infrastructure, and greater economic scale. But development is also about bargaining power, whether a country can shape the terms on which the world accesses its resources. Zimbabwe is now trying something similar with lithium. This is resource nationalism, using natural resources not simply as exports but as tools of industrial strategy. India may not control the world's lithium or nickel, but it has significant resources of graphite, rare earths, and titanium bearing minerals, along with a market large enough to influence investment. The real question is whether India can turn that combination into industrial power. Welcome back to another episode of One Big Bite, where we explore critical topics shaping India's future. I'm your host, Ananya. Today, we are looking at the new resource nationalism and what India can learn from it. Indonesia offers the clearest example. From 2020, it prohibited nickel ore exports and pushed more processing inside the country. That changed investment behavior. Companies seeking reliable access to Indonesian nickel increasingly had to establish smellers and processing facilities there. Today, Indonesia accounts for roughly 63% of global mine nickel production, giving it significant influence over an increasingly strategic supply chain. Zimbabwe is applying a similar logic to lithium. Its government has tightened exports of raw minerals and lithium concentrate while pushing producers towards greater domestic processing. The broader shift is important. This is where four ideas come together. Resource nationalism is the policy, moving up the value chain is the method, global south bargaining power is the opportunity created by rising demand for critical minerals, and industrial autonomy is the larger ambition, building the capability to operate and improve these industries domestically over time. Possessing a mineral and possessing an industry are very different things. Rare earths show this clearly. Mining rare earth bearing material is only the beginning. The material must be separated, refined, converted into metals and alloys, and eventually manufactured into permanent magnets used in electric vehicles, wind turbines, electronics, and strategic systems. Each stage demands more technology, skills, and industrial capability. The further a country moves along that chain, the more value it retains. This is why resource nationalism is not fundamentally about keeping minerals inside national borders. It is about avoiding a situation where a country remains permanently concentrated at the lowest value stage. But Indonesia also shows the limits of this model. Much of its nickel processing expansion has depended on foreign capital and technology, particularly from China. That has created factories and exports, but industrial activity does not automatically create industrial autonomy. A country can host a processing plant while remaining dependent on someone else for its technology, financing, or expertise. There are environmental trade-offs too. Parts of Indonesia's nickel expansion have relied heavily on coal-powered processing and have raised concerns around pollution and ecological damage. So mineral leverage alone is not enough. It has to be combined with reliable power, infrastructure, technical workers, finance, and domestic firms capable of learning from the industries being created. India's position is different. It imports much of the lithium, cobalt, and nickel required by its emerging industries, but it also possesses important strategic resources. Official estimates identify roughly 7.23 million tons. Those numbers sound significant, but this is where the distinction matters. India's challenge lies in those gaps. It has rare earth resources but remains dependent on imported high-performance magnets. It has titanium-bearing minerals, but much of the higher value opportunity lies in titanium metal, specialized alloys, and precision components. It has graphite, but battery manufacturers require highly purified and precisely processed anode material. This is where the idea of resource sovereignty becomes useful. Resource sovereignty does not mean producing everything domestically. It means having enough control over critical supplies, processing, technology, and alternatives that Indian industries cannot easily be disrupted because one important stage sits entirely somewhere else. India should focus on value chains where its resources, domestic demand, and technical capabilities genuinely overlap. Rare earth permanent magnets are one of the clearest examples. India has rare earth resources and some extraction and refining capability, while demand for magnets is rising across electric vehicles, renewable energy, electronics, and defense. The government has approved a rupee 7,280 crore program to establish 6,000 tons a year for integrated rare earth permanent magnet capacity. What matters is that this targets more of the chain, from rare earth oxides towards finished magnets, rather than supporting extraction alone. Graphite offers another opportunity. India may not control enough lithium to dominate batteries from the mine onwards, but graphite remains central to most lithium-ion battery anodes. Building domestic capability in battery-grade anode materials could therefore give India a strategically important position without requiring control over every mineral in the battery. Titanium requires similar thinking. The opportunity lies not simply in extracting more mineral, but in building metallurgy, specialized alloys, and precision manufacturing for aerospace and defense. This is India's industrial missing middle. Mining receives attention, final assembly receives incentives, but between them lie purification, chemical conversion, specialized metals, and component manufacturing. These intermediate stages are often where industrial capability and strategic leverage are actually created. India also possesses another form of leverage, its market. Global companies want access to Indian demand for electric vehicles, renewable energy systems, electronics, and advanced equipment. That demand can be used to encourage deeper domestic processing, manufacturing, and technology development. But resource strategy cannot become extraction at any cost. Many mineral deposits lie near forests, coastlines, and inhabited regions. Environmental standards, community participation, and local economic benefits must remain part of the same industrial strategy. Otherwise, India risks reproducing internally the extractive model that resource nationalism is supposed to challenge. Resource nationalism ultimately asks a larger question. What should a country be able to build because of the resources it possesses? Indonesia has used nickel to bring more processing inside its borders. Zimbabwe is trying to use lithium to capture more domestic value. India's challenge is different here. It does not possess every mineral its future industries will require. But where it does have strategic resources, geological wealth should not be mistaken for industrial strength. The mineral is only the starting point. The real objective is to build the technology, processing capability, skills, and industries around. Because national power is shaped not simply by what a country has underground, but by what it learns to build above it. I'm Ananya, and this was another episode of One Big Bite. See you in the next one. That is this episode of One Big Bite. I'm Ananya. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.